guys, it is Carl Brown for GuitarLessons365.com. We have got a classic today. We're going to learn how to do the Killing Moon by the Echo and the Bunnymen. First one I've done from them, so this is going to be a new one for me as well too. Mostly focusing on just kind of the chord structure behind it. We will cover Will's main guitar solo, and then we'll talk about the outro solo as well too. That he's doing a lot of this on this kind of little sitar-y sounding type guitar. I didn't really look up the model that he's using there, but I'm not going to be using that. I'll just use a regular acoustic to do it. But should be a fun one. Now, before we get into it, please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Ring the bell. That really helps, and it doesn't help as much as actually watching the videos though. So hopefully you'll doing that. That's the king of the engagement, is actually watch the things. And if you truly want to support what I do here with all these thousands of songs, you'll see a link to my Guitar Academy. That's how you keep all of this going. And that link will give you 40% off my annual subscription rate, and you get full access to all my courses. I get courses for complete beginners, more advanced courses for technique, improvisation, ear training, theory. I'm working on a whole new series of guided courses so you know exactly what to practice. You just got to basically just follow along with me. So those are all in the works in the coming weeks. So I hope you go and check it out. Also do live streams every week just with Academy members, so you can ask me questions in real time. All right, let's jump into this. So I'm in standard tuning, so nothing big there. And we have got some interesting chords in this song, and it kind of changes keys a few times. And then there's an outro solo that uses interesting scales, and we're going to talk all about that. So this intro though starts off, and we're just in basically B minor. So this progression, there's something similar to this going on in the guitar, under the guitar solo, but this kind of the A chord is a little bit different. But anyway, so we're going to start here with just a B minor bar chord. So that's going to be a bar from the high E string over to the A string of the 2nd fret. All right, so in front of that, we're going to have the middle finger at the 3rd fret on the B string. Then we'll play the 4th fret on the G, and the 4th fret there on the D string. Just a 5-string chord. So what are you gonna do now to get to the next chord? It's pretty simple. You can lift up the bar. You wanna leave the other 3 fingers there. You just now wanna go and move over to that index finger just to play the 2nd fret on the high E string, and that's it. And then that's gonna leave the A string open. So it's like that B minor, but just have an open A string in the bass. Now you're going to see Ian McCulloch, he plays a lot of these chords like that. You're also going to see this in the chorus where he's playing these 2 chords like this, but he's playing it with his thumb wrapped around and kind of barring the 2 bottom strings there, and then he must be double jointed. I'm just gonna play it like a person with a normal hand would. You'll see him playing it like that, but it's because he's able to get his thumb over there. And for me, I'm gonna have to go to the emergency room if I do it. So I'm just gonna do it the normal way. And that's the same thing for a lot of the chords, the bar chords. He's really bringing this thumb over and doing this. So you might see it look different, but it's the same thing as what I'm doing here, just in a more kind of traditional way. So we have that B minor, and then you just basically move this over, and then have so basically put an A in the bass. If you want to get technical, that's a B minor 7 now with the 7th in the bass, 3rd version. So then we're gonna go to just a regular G major chord from there. So we have this. That. So this is the G that has the kind of the 4-finger version of it. So that's the high E string 3rd fret and B 3rd fret, open G, open D, 2nd fret there on the A string, and the 3rd fret on the low E. So I know Will has a kind of a little fills he puts in over this. I'm not going to cover that. I'm really going to just cover his his solo, and that's it. We're not going to really do all the fills and all that stuff. Just the rhythm guitar part. So after this, after playing that progression twice, we get to the verse that enters. So it looks like this. All right, so it's just 2 chords, but I'm going to give you a little optional thing that you can do there to kind of, the bass line keeps that dun, 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 that kind of taking it down to the D and then back up. So and you can kind of fake that, especially if you just have one guitar. It's kind of you're doing it on your own. You don't have the bass player kind of carry that little melodic riff in there. You can kind of do it like this. So I'll just talk about that, or you can just play the chorus. I don't really see him doing that, adding the open D string himself, but it's definitely going on in the bass. So if you wanted to add that, it's fine. But it's just really based around a regular E minor. And then it goes to a C major chord with G in the bass. All right, so it's pretty simple. Play C like you normally do. But then take that 3rd fret there that's on the A string and move it over up to the low E. So now it's a G in the bass, and then that finger that you kind of left open where that note was supposed to be, you can replace that with your pinky. So you still have the C there, but then you have this 3rd fret on the low E, so it's got a G in the bass. So it's really just kind of rotate between the verse and just E minor, C with G in the bass. We're just in the E minor, E natural minor here. Then, so from here, you can, if you want to add that open D thing, it's just kind of, it's basically just kind of timing it, listening to the bass riff and kind of lifting up that note on the D string to get the open D, and then back. So we have this. So that's just if you want that kind of vibe, just to be able to do that on one guitar. So not necessarily how they're doing on the recording. They're probably just strumming the chords straight, but sounds pretty good to add it. All right, so then we get to the chorus. This is a really cool transition. So now we're bumped up to the relative major key, and they have this 2-chord progression. So what's going on there? So he bumped it up to the relative from E minor to just G major, but then he's borrowing the 4 chord from G minor. So it's just a borrowed chord. So the 4 chord is minor instead of major. It goes G to. So Will does some cool stuff over this at the end of the song, and we'll talk about that second. So the scale choice that he uses to make that match up. All right, so now, like I said, Ian is using his thumb here. He does like this, and but it's just very easy. Take a full bar at the 3rd fret here, and then in front of that, so it's going to start off with just a regular G major chord. So that's going to be the 4th fret here on the G in front of the bar. 5th fret on the D, and then the 5th fret on the A. So we basically have that. And then to get to the next chord, just leave the full bar there and take all these 3 fingers and move them down 1 string. So this is now the 4th fret on the B, 5th on the G, and 5th on the D. And it's a C minor, but we still have the G in the bass. So we're still gonna play that 6th string. And then we're going to go back to the G by just moving everything back up again. So just doing it like this, pretty simple. So you'll see Ian when he's doing it with a thumb, but when you see Will play these same chords, he plays them like this. All right, from there we go back to the verse, so the same verse. And then back to the same chorus we just covered. So it goes through the verse and chorus again. And then we get to Will's solo section. So the chord progression changes a little bit underneath there, okay? We're back into B minor now. We just have a progression just built straight out of B minor. So it looks like this. So it's just that same B minor we played earlier. But instead here of just doing the A with the B minor on top, it goes to an A sus2 chord. So we have this B minor, and it just goes to this. So that's just the open A string, second on the D, second on the G, open B, open high E. Then it has kind of a quick, just hit the G major chord once, the same one we did earlier, and then straight to the E minor. It's a 4-chord progression, but the timing of the chords is a little odd. So it looks like this. And then you just repeat that. So it does that like 4 times. All right, so let's take a look at the solo that's going on over that. It's a pretty simple solo. Like I said, it's on this little sitar sounding thingy. Here we go. I'll just play it for you, and I'll show you how to do it note for note. So we go. Looks like this. All right, so that's gonna start. So it's basically, we're playing the melody on the G string. And he's bouncing that off this open B. So every time you pick the melody note, then you're gonna go over and pick the open B string. And let that open B kind of drone behind him. All right, so let's take a look at the melody notes first, and then we'll add that open B string in there. So the first time you hear the melody, it's very similar. It's just the very ending each time is a little different. So it kind of ends on a different note. So we're going to start here with this 4th fret on the G, then 7, 9, 11, 12, 14. So it is. And then you're going to come back down, 12, 11, 9. So all together with that first melody. Now, in between the notes while you're ascending, you're going to go. So I'm basically playing those. That's going to be the same ascending. It's going to always ascend the same way each time we play this. And then you're just going to have one hit of the open B, let it ring between each note. And then you're gonna do when you do the descending, there's no notes in between. You just do the straight 3 notes. So the first time you hear the melody, it ends on that note, that 9th fret. So it goes 12, 11, 9, and then you hold that and kind of pick across both notes a few times. So we have this all together. All right, and now we're basically going to do the same melody, except the only note that's going to be different is that last note. It's going to go, instead of going 12, 11, 9, the little descending melody, it's going to go 12, 11, and then back to that 12. So that looks like this. Everything else is the same. All right, so that was the only difference, the very last note. And now when we play the third time through, once again, every note's the same except for the last note. And that ending, instead of going 12, 11, 9, which you did the first time, and then the second time we went 12, 11, 12. This time it's going to go 12, 11, 14. So it's going to end on that note and then rotate against back those 2 notes like this. All right, and then the fourth time, once again, same melody. It's just going to go down to that note. So it's going to go 12, 11. So it always goes 12, 11, right? But first one ended with 9 after that. Then 12, 11, 12. And then 12, 11, 14. And then it's going to go 12, 11, 7 for the last one. So you just got to remember that last note changes each time. So that last time through. And then he does that little melody there that really comes in over the verse. You hear that? He repeats that a few times. So that's the timing of when those are coming in. But obviously he's not jumping back and playing the chords. He's just doing this. 7 on the G, then 9, 7 on the D, over to 7 on the A. Just repeats it. All right, so that is the solo there. Then it goes back into the verse here with that little kind of melody line over. So same verse though in the chord for the chord work, and then the same chorus comes up, and then we're getting to this really long extended chorus. So while Ian's just So what's going on over that is that Will comes in and he starts kind of improvising, I guess, stuff. I'm assuming he doesn't do it note for note live or whatever. But on the recording, the solo that goes on for quite a while. I'll show you that note for note, but it's using the G harmonic major scale. So what is that? So if we know our G major scales, right? So if we just, or 3 notes per string or whatever. So what a harmonic major scale is, it's a major scale, but you take the 6th scale degree and you lower it a half step to a flat 6. So it gives us that interval. So if we're doing G, that augmented second, but it has that kind of nice so that's what the entire solo just comes out of those same notes. It's just you gotta when you're going through it, you gotta know when to use which notes really. So a lot of times when you hear him play like that, obviously when you hear him play that E flat instead of the E natural and G, when you hear him play that, it's when you're hearing the C minor chord. Also, whenever you hear that F sharp, so you're really kind of doing that kind of stuff whenever you're hearing the C minor, and then and then it's kind of. He doesn't really go when you listen to the improvisation. He doesn't really use the top half of the scale over the G chord. Just here. Then he kind of incorporates that flat six, and rarely does he hit that F sharp in there, but he does a few times. He does that little melody a few times. So G harmonic major, very, very cool sounding scale. One of my favorite scales to improvise with is actually harmonic major. And that he has to do that because when he does this, when you're borrowing that chord, you get that flat six, that C minor, that's an E flat in there, so that's the flat six of the key. So he just adapted the scale to it, and sounds really great. Anyway, so if you want to improvise your own thing, you just got to pull out your G major scales and then take that sixth note and lower it a half step, and then you're good to go. All right, so I hope you guys enjoyed it. It's a great track. First one of Echo and the Bunnymen. I don't do, for some reason, I don't get a lot of requests for like English bands for some. I don't know what that, except for the Beatles, of course. So I kind of did this one on my own and see how it goes. All right, hope you guys enjoyed it. I'll see you again soon for GuitarLessons365.com.